welcome to today's Business Spotlight. Today, our guest is Carina Devlin from Raretec Recruitment. You're very welcome.
Thank you, Tom. Thanks for having me.
So tell our audience who you are, what do you do, and how long have you been doing it?
Great. Okay. So, well, I'm the managing partner of Raretec Recruitment. I've worked in recruitment, I suppose, on and off now for about 26 years. I suppose what's a little bit different about Raretec is that we specialize in actuarial recruitment, and we try to pretty much just do that. I suppose we've been in business since 2011. The business was started by Jackie Van Tutem, but an unusual one was we were acquired by Brightwater Group in early 2023.
Ah, right, okay.
Yeah, so Jackie's now exited the business and I'm the managing partner. So I suppose what that has meant, being part of an acquisition is that while we continue, as always, business as usual with our long established brand, which, anyone really in the insurance and actuarial market, we would hope are aware of. We're now plugged in, I suppose, to a bigger machine, and I suppose the benefits of that or the advantages that I have found is, we have more areas of support, like we have marketing people, we have people who take care of social media for us, and it's also, I suppose, increased our exposure to maybe a wider base of clients who wouldn't have had exposure to actuaries. And, as you see, actuaries are in more businesses these days than just traditional insurance.
Yeah. And actuaries, that kind of rings a bell. It kind of frightens me a little bit because that means they're really clever people, Oh, I'm an actuary. Oh, goodness me. This guy's really clever. This girl's pretty clever. So I presume that kind of, when I say restricts, there's only certain types of industries and certain sizes of companies that would want or need to employ people at that level. So is it just Ireland, Carina, or is it also abroad?
We've successfully placed people in the Isle of Man, which obviously would be a financial hub.
Yes.
We've placed in the Cayman Islands. We've placed in Barbados.
Right.
And we have a couple of UK. So a lot of our clients would have UK interests. Okay. So we've placed in the UK as well. But I suppose the core of our business is Ireland.
Right. So obviously the journey since you took over there. Sorry, when did you take over again? In 2000?
Well, I've been a director of the company since 2019, but I took over as managing partner in 2023, beginning of 2023.
Okay.
Yeah.
So obviously you've got a team of people to kind of get together. So what are the qualities that you would look for in your current employees, and indeed for when you're recruiting yourselves? What are the qualities that you'd look for?
Look, I suppose, in recruitment is quite a sales environment, really, whilst the aim is to match people, and find their dream jobs and those kind of things. To work in that environment, you need to be very highly motivated. So I would look for that kind of individual, someone with very strong communication skills, somebody who can problem solve, look outside, I suppose, the box, and we try to be really consultative with our clients as well and our candidates, because you do need to be able to manage people's expectations, particularly when it comes to salaries and packages and, those kind of things. So they're the kind of individual I look for. But one of the things I really do value in people, and I try to get them to demonstrate, and that's resilience, Tom, because, whilst the job we do can be super rewarding, you do find somebody their dream job. You do get the employer to find somebody they've been maybe looking for quite some time. There can be kind of crushing disappointments as well,
of course,
like any business.
Yeah.
And, you're dealing with human beings. It's not a product. So you have to allow for all of those variables that come along with dealing with people. And so I would value, frankly, resilience right up there with all the other attributes.
And can I ask you then on a personal basis, what, since you became the boss, the leader, the new leader, what is the biggest learning that you've noticed that you've got since you've taken over?
Since I've taken over, what I would say, Tom, is that When I started in recruitment 26 years ago, everything was done on the phone, on a landline.
Yeah.
And, that was your life. You went around with one kind of cradled in your shoulder. And I
Well, they
similarly,
were big then. You could you
they
could
were,
you could actually have them.
you
Yes,
could, they wouldn't
yes,
fly off.
yeah,
Um, and again, I'll show my age now. I remember getting my first BlackBerry and,
yeah,
suddenly email taking over hugely. So I suppose what I've learned from taking over here now is that you've really got to move with the times and move with technology. And, digital marketing is huge now. And, to get stuck back in those, where we've tried to move with the times all along, but I think becoming part of a bigger company as well is showing me that you really need to drive that forward.
mhm,
And it's now a much bigger part of businesses' lives, I think, to ensure that that part of your exposure is fully covered, and that you are really, investing in marketing and investing in your presence. I
yeah.
think that was quite a learning curve.
Okay, because interesting because we all have work-life balance, but how often do we think about it? So for you then, how do you balance your work life? Did you have you had to change that since you took over, or has it remained the same?
Oh, it's changed, I'm sure,
Yeah,
Tom.
yeah,
It's, I mean, it's always a challenge, even, whether you're, I suppose, the boss or whether you
mm,
are, just on the team. I think it's something you have to strive to do. I mean, most people have other things like children and homes to run, as well as,
mhm,
a workplace to keep on top of. But
yeah,
I think if I was to choose how do you best attack that, I would say it's having a good team. I think that's crucial. And I think you need to be able to let go of the tasks that don't necessarily need to be done by you, which is also a learning curve when you're coming from the doer to the manager, as such,
yes,
for want of a better
yes,
description.
yes,
There's one thing somebody once said to me that I thought was really interesting, was don't get caught in the weeds.
yeah,
And I think that in order to evolve and to move up that chain of command, if for want again, but is that you need to free yourself out of the weeds so you can look at the bigger picture, and
yeah.
so you can make the team the best that they can be. And I
That's
think, to
That's
me, that's
very
the
eloquently
answer.
put. Yeah, and I know that makes entire sense. So culture would be a strong target for you to build within the company as you're building your team, as you're growing the business, etc.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me, looking back a little bit then, wherever it might be, so you've now turned into an entrepreneur running a company, etc. What advice would you give to an 18-year-old you, or indeed a young person, a younger person than us, perhaps, who is thinking of starting a business?
Yeah. I'd say it's probably cliche, but I think you really have to believe in yourself. And I think, it's human nature to doubt, how good you are. But I think you've to listen to the accolades that you do get, because you're clearly doing something right. And really, I think, is it Martin Luther King said, don't look at the whole staircase, or you don't need to look at the whole
Yeah.
staircase, just take the first step,
First step.
And I think, as a young 18, 19, 20, I was very ambitious,
Mhm.
and I kind of wanted to get to the top of the staircase. And I think that, that's a misconception as well from young people, that you can fly overnight. You have to put in the work, and you should be taking small steps to build that into something cohesive and a future. But yeah, I would also say don't worry so much.
I think that's very good advice, I have to say. I'm even thinking back to myself back then, is that, yeah, stop worrying so much because it's incredible. It slows you down, doesn't it?
It does. And I think
Yeah.
somebody, you in coaching would probably know that we quite often get in our own way. And I try to say that to, I've a daughter entering, you know, kind of the workforce age now. And,
Yeah.
you know, I sort of tried to say to her, you know, A, stop worrying and stop worrying about the study so much and the, you know, all of those things, but B, you
Live.
know, believe in yourself. You know,
Yeah.
you've got so much to offer.
And there's a plus side here. She can pay rent now.
Well, I think she's been quite resistant to that, Tom, but
Yes.
yes, I
Yeah.
am trying.
Yeah. Yeah. There's always these things here, whatever. Listen, Carina, it's been fantastic talking to you today and really, really interesting. And I'd love to hear your story. One last question I want to ask you. Where do you see your industry? Do you see any big changes happening in the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, I mean, you know, one of the great things about working in this industry is that we try to keep our ear to the ground all the time. You know, we're not diluted, so we're not looking at, you know, other sides of it. It's purely actuarial what we do. So, I mean, AI is a huge deal at the
Yeah.
moment, and will that take roles away from particularly maybe more junior actuaries? You know, will it take some of those tasks? But
Yeah.
what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing is that whilst it's, you know, AI is so new and we're all getting a grip on it and how it'll affect things, I think if it's harnessed in the right way, it's also going to drive things forward because it will free up, you know, actuaries, let's say senior actuaries, to, you know, really look creatively at the business and less at the maybe day-to-day tasks that have to go along with regulatory work.
Okay.
So yeah, I think that's going to be a big change. I think probably as well, actuaries will expand their industries. I think they'll move, you know, into different fields because what they offer is fantastic.
Yeah, because it's data. I mean, and they know how to manipulate. That's the wrong word, manipulate, but they know how to understand it
Understand
and
it
perhaps
and
and explain it to idiots like me.
absolutely. Well, and me, frankly, Tom, but they have to, you know, to be able to
Yeah.
deliver it to a non-actuarial audience is a
Yes,
skill in itself, you know,
absolutely.
and, you know, I think people who foster those skills will be as important as their actual mathematical genius, you know.
And isn't
Yeah,
that such a good point to know when you're telling people something? How many conferences have we all been to where somebody gets up and talks for an hour and someone says, "What was that about?"
no idea.
Isn't it extraordinary? And they miss, and the speakers, they missed the point. They didn't say the words that the audience could understand,
Absolutely. And I
which is a
mean,
terrible shame. It's a terrible waste of time.
it comes down to data storytelling, doesn't it, really? And how can you package something into a way us normal beings
Yeah.
can understand and take some meaning from?
Well, listen, Carina Devlin from raretecrecruitment.com. Am I right? Yes. Have a look at that, folks. And also, if anyone wants to get in touch with you, I presume just link in with you and
Absolutely.
ask, would you be open to have a conversation with people before we sell to them? Of course you would. Yeah.
Absolutely. And pleasure
Fantastic.
talking to you, Tom.
Carina, thank you very much indeed.
Take
Have a
care.
great day.
Bye.